On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, is Kelsey Grammer returning as Beast for a cameo in the Marvels? There might actually be something to that. Also, Five Nights at Freddy's has moved up its release date on Peacock to today. You can watch it on Peacock today. Also, we're going to talk about what does Marvel do now that the Jonathan Majors is going to trial. What does Marvel do if by something he actually gets found guilty? Also, Chucky versus Megan is actually a project that could happen. At least that's what's being teased by the creator of Chucky. And sources at the rapper saying that if the actors and the studios don't have a deal like in the next week or so, they're going to shut down negotiations until 2024. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or different from ours. I'm not in a costume today. I've been wearing a Halloween costume every day this week, but I only have 4, so I figured I'd save one till tomorrow. Unless you want to say I'm Channing Tatum from Magic Mike.
You're Robin Williams from his early stand-up.
Sure.
Black t-shirt.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Really. So I'm glad you guys are here. Joining me in studio today, we got Jonathan Voico.
Hello.
The delightful Chris Carr is back.
Hello.
Chris, good to have you back.
Thank you.
Ray's got the day off today, so you'll see him back around tomorrow. But most importantly, you guys are here. So thanks so much for being here. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those topics that we listed off. And then we're going to take your comments and questions. Now, we already asked our beloved YouTube channel members, by the way, if you're a YouTube channel member, thank you so much, to send in some topics and questions. We gathered those up. But also, if you're watching live right now, you can send in a topic or question using the Super Chat feature over there in the live chat. And if, as long as your topic or question is appropriate to be used on our show, we'll get to that near the end of the program. All right. One last thing I want to remind you guys about is that this show is primarily a podcast. So if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, make sure you go and subscribe to our podcast feed as well. Just go on your favorite podcasting app of choice, search for the John Campea Show podcast. Not only do we put the John Campea Show in there, but the couple times a week that we do open mic, we put that in that feed as well. So go ahead and subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app of choice, to make sure it's there when you need it. All right. With that all down, guys, let's get into it. And we're going to start off with this. There's some whispers and rumors going around that Kelsey Grammer, Frasier, might be coming back to play Beast yet again for a cameo in the Marvels. Now, look, it is pretty much, not everybody, but it generally accepted that X-Men 3: The Last Stand was not Oscar-worthy. I think most people would agree with that. I mean, I personally don't think it's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, it's not good, but it had its moments. One of the big shining things in that movie for me was Kelsey Grammer as Beast. I thought he was a wonderful Beast. I really did. And not just the way he acted the role, but also, you know, the physical movements of Beast. Obviously, some of that was CGI, some of that was stunt person, but just the way Beast moved, all that kind of stuff, I liked a lot. Well, there's a rumor going around, as we said off the top, that he might be returning for a cameo in the Marvels. And before we dismiss that out of hand, listen to what they're saying. All right, this comes to us from Coming Soon, who say the following. With the Marvels approaching its release, the hype for the film is finally increasing due to the latest rumor about cameos in the movie. Fans are wondering if Kelsey Grammer is returning as Beast in the Marvels. Daniel RPK, who drops a lot of scoops, many of which are correct, some aren't, but many of them are. Daniel RPK tweeted the following. Someone who was the perfect casting for a certain role and never got his chance to do justice with it because they wasted him on a shitty movie is coming back. That's all I'm going to say. Someone who was the perfect casting for a certain role and never got his chance to do justice with it because it was wasted on a shitty movie is coming back. That's all I'm going to say. All right. There are a lot of people online who are taking that as Kelsey Grammer and Beast, because when you're looking in that world, there's not a lot of people that were used and considered like really completely wasted. I'll tell you what, the only other person I can think of who might possibly fit that description, and why am I freezing? He was the main star of John Carter of Mars.
John Kitsch. Or Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor
Kitsch,
Kitsch,
yeah.
that's it. I was going to say not John, Taylor Kitsch.
I was kind of thinking of that too.
Taylor Kitsch, who of course played Gambit in the one Wolverine movie, right? Taylor Kitsch, by the way, he's been in a lot of bad stuff, Battleship and whatever, but I think he's a wonderful actor. I actually really, really like him. He's just been dealt a bad hand in a lot of different ways, but he's somebody who could maybe fit that role. Look, is Kelsey Grammer coming back as Beast? Look, he's not 80. I think he's still in his late 60s, Kelsey Grammer. Obviously, any big physical stuff will either be CGI or a stunt person in the costume. There's a lot of makeup there for Hank. And I'll just say this. I have no opinion about whether I think this is actually going to be legit and happen, but I would love it. I would absolutely love it. But here's the biggest thing I have to not believe it's going to be this. I don't believe Kevin Feige is bringing back old X-Men. I do not believe Kevin Feige is bringing back old X-Men. They could do some stuff in the Deadpool movie because Deadpool's Deadpool and they can do a lot of ridiculousness there. I don't believe for a second, I don't know this firsthand, I'm just saying what I think as a fan. I don't believe for a second that Kevin Feige is actually going to be reestablishing X-Men in the MCU with the old cast of X-Men. But would I like to see Kelsey Grammer as Beast? Hell yeah, I would like to see it. Chris, what do you think about the report, the possibility of Kelsey Grammer's Hank McCoy coming back in? If not Hank McCoy, who else could it be? I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, yeah, Kelsey Grammer's 68. And if we're living in a world where Harrison Ford is going to be Red Hulk at some point, we can absolutely have this. I loved him as Hank McCoy. I thought it was such smart casting at the time. And it really was wasted. It was just not done well because you had this kind of perfect casting of this actor makes so much sense for this kind of role and really plays that dichotomy of being the brilliant professor who happens to have this other Jekyll kind of side to him almost, but full control. I loved it. So it'd be really great to see him back in there. That being said, it could be Taylor Kitsch, right? It could be him doing his Gambit thing. I mean, for all I know, it could be Toad is in here. They're getting Toad another thing.
He's going to be like, I needed to tell you guys what happens when lightning hits
exactly.
a Toad.
I think you guys weren't
They
sure.
left us hanging.
Yeah, we got to fill you in. So there's some possibilities there, but there's also a lot of bad superhero movies out there too.
Yeah.
So the possibilities kind of are endless here. I think this is just one that would make sense from the standpoint of hearing that X-Men trill, right? In Ms. Marvel, hearing the call of our people. I think it would make so much sense for Hank to be the person to talk to her about her DNA a bit more. But I'm not sure if Kelsey Grammer is going to stick around for the greater MCU.
He should come back as Frasier.
That'd be great.
Oh my God.
He's just like, tough
He's like
salads
radio
and
host
scrambled
talking
eggs.
about,
You're
like,
a
the
mutant.
snap.
Hey, even mutant needs some counseling.
Exactly.
You know, I'm listening, Kelsey Grammer. But also, somebody in our live chat, Kane in our live chat, said, who cares about Beast?
Yeah. Man, apparently not him, but...
First of all, Beast has always been a wonderful character. This whole idea that
And a core X-Men.
He's the highest intellectual. He's one of the OG X-Men, all that kind of stuff. But over the past 5, 6, 7 years, well, ever since the Age of Apocalypse, when we were introduced to Dark Beast, Age of Apocalypse, for those of you who don't know it, it's basically tipsy-turvy. What happens if time unfolded differently? And in that reality, Beast was bad. And they brought him in. But in comics in the last number of years, Hank McCoy, Beast, he goes Breaking Bad. And he's actually like one of the most dangerous people in that world right now. And he is a fascinating character. And I think having someone like Kelsey Grammer doing it would be pretty fun. Again, I don't actually think it's going to happen. I don't see Kevin bringing in old X-Men characters, but if they do, he'll have my interest. He'll have my interest. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Five Nights at Freddy's, you can watch it today. Woo. Not just in movie theaters with the early previews. You can watch it at home today. Okay, now look, a little bit of background here. Five Nights at Freddy's is the only video game in history that has ever actually creeped me out. I've never found any other horror video game remotely creepy. I found some of them quite good, like good games, but I've never felt scared or creeped out or anything like that. Five Nights at Freddy's, for whatever reason, maybe it's because the first time I played it, it was like 11 o'clock at night and I was laying in bed with my tablet and said, I'll give this game a shot. And then all of a sudden I felt like I needed to turn the lights on. Creeped me out. So I got excited, like many people, when they announced that they were doing a movie. I got extra excited when I found out that the Henson Company, the Jim Henson Company, was going to be working on it with them. I thought that was fantastic. And then my belief in the film took a big hit when I found out that Peacock, Universal, was going to be releasing the movie day and date on streaming on Peacock the same day they put it in theaters. They have done that a couple of times. And each time they have done that, the movie turns out to be complete dog shit. And so I lost a lot of my belief in this. And then, of course, the review embargo didn't release until last night, which is the day before the movie comes out. That's never a good sign. By the way, the reviews have not been great. But, you know, it's going to come out on Peacock tomorrow, but not anymore. It's coming out today. This comes to us from the director, who wrote the following. I don't know why that's coming up.
Maybe try recycling here.
Let me, try that again. Anyway.
Well, I'll go to you and you can read it and I'll try to fix it.
Well, let me see if I can double down on my, try that now. I'm not sure if that'll work or not.
No, but I can bring it up here. Let's try it again.
Is this good content?
I'm just gonna read it off while Jonathan tries to get that figured out.
I rebooted and it lost your feed.
On October 18th, CNET reported that Five Nights at Freddy's was a hit with yet. Let me try that again. On October 18th, CNET reported that Five Nights at Freddy's was hit with yet another minor adjustment in its release schedule, with the debut on Universal streaming service Peacock being changed from October 27th to October 26th. That's today, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On October 20th, one fan asked Peacock directly on Twitter about the film's release on the platform, which it reaffirmed would be on October 27th, which is tomorrow. However, that same account has now made a correction and confirms CNET's report that Five Nights at Freddy's will start streaming on Peacock on Thursday, October 26th, today, at 5 p.m. Los Angeles time, 8 p.m. New York time. So as of right now, 5 hours from now, wherever you are, 5 hours from now, if you've got Peacock, you can watch Five Nights at Freddy's. They were at least going to give it a 1 day head start in theaters. 1 day. And I guess they believed, you know what, word of mouth is going to get out really quickly. Let's move up how fast it can be on Peacock and let our Peacock subscribers be excited about it. I'll tell you what, Chris, this whole thing has been so disappointing to me.
It really has.
And I'm saying this as somebody who hasn't even seen the movie yet. But everything that has happened has been so utterly disappointing. Because one of my mantras is, hey, studio, if you don't believe in your movie, why should I?
Yeah.
They have clearly showed it every step along the way. They have no faith in this movie. I am going to sit down at 5 p.m. But you know what? Ray and I were talking last week. Because I've been excited about this movie, I was still going to go to the theaters to watch it. But they've just convinced me not to bother. I'm a movie theater guy.
Yeah.
And they have seemed hell-bent to convince me it's not worth my time going to the theater. So at 5 p.m. tonight, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch it at home before I pop on Gen V and Loki. Thursday night television is great again.
Game day.
And and the Bills are playing tonight too. The Bills are playing the
Money is
Buccaneers.
playing.
What's that?
Money's playing?
Yes, dollar bills are playing.
Man. I mean, that would be a really American team. I'm just saying. I'd have confidence in them.
Michael in the live chat is saying right now, Five Nights at Freddy's is at 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Which I'm not going to lie, is higher than I thought it would be from everything I've been seeing. So anyway, Chris, what do you make of this? Where's your hope level for this? I know you're not normally a horror person anyway, but there's something about this.
I had such hope for this because I love the Muppets so much. So anything Jim Henson does, spooky or otherwise, if the Henson Company is behind something, I am all for it. This game creeps me out so much. Unlike you, I am scared of all things. I can't play The Last of Us with the lights off or at night. And this was one that really, really messed me up. And I was so excited about it. And I was really pumped to actually go see it in a theater and experience it with people. And everything that has come out more and more about this movie has made me so completely disillusioned to any possibility that it's good. I have Regal Unlimited. I am probably going to watch this streaming because I want to yell at the screen based on everything that I've read so far. I really trust E-Man's reviews too. Shout out E-Man. And even he was like, it's not very good and it's really predictable. And he usually finds something good to say about stuff too. I'm not thrilled about this. I'm going to be having a very different 5 p.m. from you. I'm going to go to the Regal and I'm going to go see Nightmare Before Christmas in 4DX, which will be delightful. And then maybe tonight I will stream this and, let's call a spade a spade. I'll probably get a little drunk and yell at the screen.
Chrissy D'Anicio is going to make an appearance.
Chrissy D'Anicio is going to make an appearance.
And here's the thing too, like normally I don't care whether a movie is PG-13 or R.
Nah.
Because you can do so much with PG-13. But even I, who am always like, PG-13's fine. That's usually me. But even I was like, for something like Five Nights at Freddy's, like you'd think you'd want to lean into that kind of over-the-topness in some ways. You might want to do some big gory kills. You might want to do, something along those lines to really get it. But they went with PG-13 and now hearing, and I'm fine with that. It's like, hey, to tell your story, you need to be PG-13, fine. But it sounds like the movie's not any good anyway. So you might as well have leaned into the R rating anyway. All right, guys, listen. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? Yesterday, we discussed the fact that a judge had refused and turned down and rejected Jonathan Majors' attorney's attempt to get the case dismissed. They wanted the trial against him to be dismissed, and they submitted that. They made a motion, and the judge rejected it. And then on top of that, Jonathan Majors' attorney put in another motion with the court asking them to keep some of the evidence secret from public.
Keep it secret, keep it safe.
Yes, secret evidence that they don't want the public to know about because Jonathan Majors' attorney said if this evidence were to get out in public, it would, they said the media would go all over it. It would put Jonathan Majors under media scrutiny and would make it impossible for Jonathan Majors to get a fair trial, which makes all of us normal people go, what is it? Which is completely immature of us, granted. But as I emphasized yesterday, losing a motion to dismiss does not imply guilt. Many, many, many trials have failed to get a motion to dismiss, and yet they go on many times to still be found not guilty. So that should in no way be interpreted as a sign of guilt that he lost his motion to dismiss. It just means that the judge felt there is enough evidence to at least go to trial. Okay? So innocent until proven guilty, we all need to remember that. But what happens? What does Marvel do if Jonathan Majors is found guilty in a trial that is now moving forward? And that is the subject of today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Listen, guys, if you got a question for the show and you'd like to hear your voice on it, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline anytime 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And the question today is specifically about what does Marvel do? Check it out.
Hey, John and crew. This is Joey from Orlando, Florida. Quick question. In the midst of the Jonathan Majors trial going on with everything right now, how do you think Marvel should pivot from here if he is found guilty? What villains or story arcs do you think that they could pivot to build up to the hype of Secret Wars? Anyways, bring on the filthy. Love you guys.
All right, Joey, thanks a lot for calling that in. And okay, so again, understanding innocence until proven guilty, that the motion to dismiss being rejected is not an indication of guilt. Keeping all that in mind, we are purely talking in hypotheticals here. Because what Marvel does, if Jonathan Majors is found not guilty, that's clear. They keep moving ahead. They keep doing whatever it is they were going to do. So we don't even need to bother addressing that question. But what does Marvel do if this trial that is now proceeding and he's found guilty? All right. The first thing I want to say here is that I don't think they do they don't change the story of the MCU, right? They've already got movies in production. They've got things that they're doing. Because one actor can suddenly now not be there doesn't mean, well, we had this 7-film plan. Let's scrap it all and change directions and rewrite every script, redo every director, bring in entire. No, you don't do that. The answer to me is clear and simple. You recast the character. That's it. Now, Do I think Marvel is currently sitting down and evaluating some course adjustments, seeing as Marvel hasn't exactly been crushing it the last couple of years? Yes, I think they're probably evaluating, especially now that, Bob Iger is back in charge of Disney and he reinvested power back into Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige's got his authority back. Is Kevin probably doing some, in between halves adjustments? Yes. But a complete change of direction. Nothing's about Kang now. Now it's about this. And and that's just not something that you do. That's way too much. When there's a much simpler, easier answer, you just recast the actor. Listen, Jonathan Majors is a world-class talent, but there's other fabulous actors out there. And many of whom I'm sure will be ready to come in and step in and fill the role. But people will be confused if all of a sudden a new actor is there. That's funny. They changed Dumbledore's actor and everybody seemed to take it in stride. Didn't confuse anybody. Everybody will be fine.
They could get Terrence Howard.
Wouldn't that be a stroke of irony if
man.
Terrence Howard
Because
came
it's come on screen, it's like, get used to it. It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's me. Get over it. That would be quite
Don
funny.
Cheadle's lines
Or
there.
Don
So
Cheadle.
good. There is such a weird thing, though, of when an actor passes, the role gets replaced and no one asks questions about it because we need to continue having that character.
Unless it's T'Challa.
Yeah, I was going to
Unless
say.
it's T'Challa. But then when it's an actor no longer wants to participate or has scheduling conflict or has misbehaved or done crime, then we have this weird kind of split between camps of, well, you can't have anyone else do it. No other actor is capable of doing this, or yeah, put anyone else in there. And I wonder what the reasoning is there. Is it just because that person is still out in the world existing? I don't understand why people get so hung up on it.
Because look at a recent example of something like that. Kevin Spacey was removed from the one, was the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yes.
All the money in the world.
All the money in the world, right? He was removed from it due
Yeah.
to, alleged bad behavior. And they went and got Christopher Plummer, Rishal Shah. And correct me if I'm mistaken, but did Christopher Plummer not then get an Academy Award nomination?
He did.
Yeah, for
He
stepping
did.
in and replacing
Yeah.
that. So you can do that. I mean, obviously, first of all, I guess we should answer this. I mean, it seems obvious, but if Jonathan Majors is found guilty, yeah, you remove him from
You
the movie.
absolutely
Yeah,
remove him.
100%. But at that point, I don't think you have to change anything else. You just go out and get one of the many other brilliant actors out there, have them slide in, take over, and then, and then see what happens. Now, of course, I'm going to sit here and continue to cross my fingers that turns out that none of these allegations are true. I'm going to sit here and hope we get to continue to see Jonathan Majors do the brilliant work that he's been doing. And if he's guilty of it, well, he'll be held accountable, and then the MCU should just move on. So I don't know. Chris, are you with me on this, that if things go south, the answer is to recast, or do you see another option here?
As of right now, I would say recast, but I also still don't fully understand where we're going with Kang Dynasty.
I don't think
really
anybody
don't.
does.
I don't think so. So it could be, if we're going very glass half full, make lemonade out of this situation, it could be an opportunity for a fire sale to restructure and come up with a different kind of set plan for the MCU. That being said, that feels very, very off course. That feels like it'd be so much more work and not something that would come together well.
Very reactionary, which is
Exactly.
very DC.
That's so
Which is a
DC.
very
Yeah.
mid 2010s DC thing to
Yeah.
do, not a Marvel thing to do.
Exactly. But we have been having this issue of everything being connected, but maybe not connected, not really knowing where it's going, the kind of spaghetti at the wall thing here. So the King Dynasty stuff felt like the trajectory that needed to happen so we could streamline all of this. But I still don't know if they know that's coming together well. So easiest thing, recast. Could it also lead to Marvel being able to restructure and go more quality over quantity and really focus, especially since they're doing less shows, less movies, etc. It could allow them the space too to kind of tighten up and streamline.
Whew,
That's a
trying
lot.
to now let's say you don't want to do Kang Dynasty, you want to change everything. Now you don't just have to remap one movie, you have to remap 7
Everything.
movies.
Yeah.
Everything. And that is just a multi-billion-dollar undertaking. And I see them making adjustments, not changing of directions.
Sure.
Right? So with that, that's going to require a recast. All right. Guys, with that down, we still want to talk about the possibility and the tease that we may get a Megan versus Chucky. Also, it's possible that after next week, the negotiations between the studios and the actors could just shut down until 2024. We're going to talk about all that. But before we do, we're going to take a second and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Our friends at MasterClass and the makers of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn, Vessi. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations I have to do on a regular basis. With MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. masterclass.com/Campea. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Vessi. Now, you guys know I'm not exactly the most fashion conscious guy in the world, but I love a great pair of shoes that are comfortable and I can wear almost anywhere. And growing up in Canadian winters when my feet got wet a lot, waterproof would be nice too. Enter Vessi. They make the claim that they're not just fashionable and super comfortable, they're also waterproof. Now, you guys remember, when I got my first pair of Vessis, I put them to the ultimate waterproof test. I actually stuck my foot in my pool, my feet stayed dry, and the shoes stayed dry. Incredible. And they're the most comfortable pair of shoes I ever owned. Well, that made me want another pair. So I got another pair of Vessis that look great and just equal that world-class comfort that I got from that first pair of shoes. They are absolutely my favorite shoes that I've ever owned. Imagine your favorite sneaker style supercharged with waterproof technology and unmatched comfort. No matter how you like to stay active, Vessi has the shoes for you. Trail-ready high tops, effortless slip-ons, and classic court shoes, all with a waterproof twist. They are just as comfortable and stylish as your favorite sneakers, but even more versatile. So guys, if you're anything like me and you want the most comfortable pair of shoes that look great, that you can take out hiking, wear to work, go to the gym, or walk through the water and snow, go to vessi.com/Campea and get yourself a pair today. Go to vessi.com/Campea and get 15% off your order using the code Campea. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass and Vessi for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Chucky, I'm going to admit, I'm not the biggest Chucky fan in the world. I love the first Child's Play. I thought maybe the franchise should have ended there. I'm not, but I've got a lot of friends who love Chucky. And Megan kind of came out of nowhere and was a delight. Get this about the Megan movie. They made Megan for $12 million. That's less than what Taylor Swift spent to make the Eras concert tour movie. $12 million to make Megan, and it made $180 million at the box office. Now, some of you might remember back when Megan was about to come out, a Twitter battle ensued between Chucky and Megan. Now, it's not surprising, they're both under the same studio. Now, ever since then, there's been a lot of questions and other things have happened that has now led the creator of Chucky to kind of tease we may be seeing a Megan and Chucky crossover. This comes to us from the folks over at Coming Soon who write the following. The Twitter accounts for both Chucky and Megan engaged in a bit of a spat during the promotion for Megan's theatrical release, and it was clearly an intentional plan given both are under the same NBC Universal umbrella. But when Mancini, the creator of Chucky, was asked about a showdown between the two, he replied with a simple yet utterly tantalizing, I would say, stay tuned. All right. let me say this. I am not normally one for crossovers. Like a lot of times when people will write in and ask, hey, John, what do you think about a crossover of Beverly Hills Cop with Lethal Weapon? It's like, okay, this sounds like a gimmick more than anything else. And I don't know that all sounds all that exciting for me. They did Freddy versus Jason. Quite frankly, that didn't work out so well. And we've seen some other crossover things that, quite frankly, have not worked out so well. And also the question becomes why? What's the point of doing that? But Chucky and Megan. Neither Chucky nor Megan are iconic to the level of Freddy or Jason or Michael or things like that. They both have, now granted, Megan only cost 12 million, made 180. Still, only made 180. That's not like huge, massive global blockbuster numbers, right? These are two, relatively speaking, smaller IPs that if you put them together as not primary IPs, but smaller IPs, this is something that could be good for both Chucky and Megan. And listen, the story of the primacy of who is the best killer doll, like you do this thing, I was reading this one thing where, Chucky is a very sensitive individual. Chucky is also has a lot of pride, doesn't want this idea that some other killer doll out there is getting all of his glory. And the idea of this big showdown between them, I'll tell you, a supernatural versus science, right? The science of Megan, the supernatural of Chucky. You put that together, I'll tell you what, as the person who says, I don't really care about these crossover ideas, and who someone's not even a big fan of Chucky, I gotta say, sign me up. I will watch this movie. I will go to theaters. Hell, even if you say I have to sit through a double feature of Five Nights at Freddy's with this, I will go and do that. I will go and watch this because I think this could be good for Chucky. I think this could be good for Megan. This is something that I think it's something that would excite the fans. I think the fans of these properties will get pretty darn excited about seeing this and maybe grow each of their IPs. So you know what? We're making a mountain out of a molehill of one statement where he says, I would say stay tuned, okay? Maybe that means something completely different. Maybe that means we're going to get a Chucky versus Megan comic book. It's very possible that's the direction they go. I'm just saying that if they did do this in a movie format, contrary to how I usually feel about this stuff, I would be so down for this. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about the possibilities of Chucky versus Megan? And I can't even remember, did you get around to seeing Megan? What did you think of Megan?
I still haven't seen Megan.
You still haven't seen Megan?
I still haven't seen Megan, and I need to because I keep hearing about how funny and campy it is.
It's really good.
And
it's
I do
really
love
good.
horror comedy. Like if you give me a Tucker and Dale kind of situation, I'm here for that. This makes sense though. The sentient AI with the doll who's possessed by the soul of a serial killer. I can understand those two teaming up together. That being said, though, the new Chucky series, if I'm not mistaken, is a little more leaning into comedy. He's in the White House now or something of that nature. There's a bunch of weird shit happening that I am not enough of a horror expert to weigh in on. So I just don't know if both lean into camp now, and then if you have that kind of film that's just a very campy which doll will be victorious kind of thing, or if you really lean into the kind of Child's Play horror roots of real slasher kind of stuff. Either way, it's something even I would probably tune into.
I think there's a lot of potential for this.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
And you know what? It's something you could make for $20 million.
Oh, yeah.
You could make $20 million, take this theater, make 150. I think this is a no-brainer.
She can teach Chucky how to dance.
Oh my God.
It'd be magical.
That would own the internet if they did that. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to our main story here today, shall we? And that is this. We are now heading into the 4th month of the actor strike, well over 100 days now since the actor strike has begun. And quite frankly, listen, I'll admit it, early in the days of the actor strike, I honestly didn't think the actor strike would last that long. I even made a video about why I believe the actor strike will end before the writer's strike. And I think all my reasons were valid, but here we are. Writer's strike has been done for a while now, and the actors are still not back at work. And now there is a report out of the major trade, The Wrap, suggesting that if there's not a deal done by the end of next week, they're just going to shut down negotiations until 2024. This comes to us from The Wrap, who said the following. Hollywood studios are giving one more week to negotiations with SAG-AFTRA before they are ready to pack it in for the rest of the year, The Wrap has learned. According to an individual with knowledge of their thinking, the studios believe that if they can't reach a deal in the next week with the Screen Actors Guild, which has been on strike since July 14th, then no new production will be able to start before 2024. If that is the case, the studios further believe then the fall television season is lost, and the new movies won't be able to come out until next summer. Essentially, this is just one part of a very long article, but essentially what the Wrap report is saying is that, look, they basically, the way they're looking at it and doing the calculating, if they can't by the end of next week get a deal done, their fall television thing is done. They're not going to be able to make it. They're not going to be able to have a fall television thing. And it throws their movie schedule stuff into complete chaos. And their thinking is, if we don't get it done by then, there's literally no point in us continuing to talk to each other until January. And I get it. I mean, that there's a rationale to that. Listen, there's even a rationale sometimes. I know I do this to myself personally. I know a lot of other people do it too. There is something to be said for setting deadlines for yourself, to saying, I have got to get this done by this, light an extra fire under yourself and under the other people that might be working with you, and try to get it done. Because honestly, if we don't get it done by this point, there's really no point. It's frustrating to think in that way. I was just reading an article in the New York Times about a prop making company in Hollywood. They're a prop master. They make props for movies and been doing it for 40 years. And they shut down. They just couldn't make their rent anymore. They couldn't make their payments anymore. They're shut down. A company's been in existence for 40 years, shut down because these two sides haven't been able to make a deal. And theirs is but one of many stories. So it's frustrating on that level. And I've made my beliefs on my frustration of both sides of this equation quite clear. So I don't need to re-go into all that. But here we are. We're at this pinnacle of time where it's like, look, we got this much time to get a deal done. If we can get a deal done by this date, we can start rolling again. But if we don't, we're all fucked. So let's try to get a deal done. I'm going to sit here, Chris, and do what I've not done lately and try to be a little bit optimistic and believe that I think with the studios and actors all looking at the very real possibility that, hey, your entire season of television is going to be gone. Your entire, this pier they use for marketing, building up, getting your movies done is going to be gone. I'm going to sit here and believe that necessity, what does they say? Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yep.
I'm going to sit here and believe, maybe naively again, that necessity is going to really motivate the negotiators in the room to swallow whatever they got to swallow and just get a deal done and say, whatever stuff was too hard to swallow, we'll revisit in 3 years. I don't know, because remember, these deals will only last 3 years. Yeah. They got to revisit this again in a couple of years. I'm going to believe, hopefully, that something next week gets done. I have nothing to base that on except pure blind eye. Aren't I adorable? I don't know. What do you think about this?
Oof. Yeah. 104 days ago, we were so optimistic. Oh, this is going to last, what, like a week or two?
Yeah. Remember, they even said, you know what? We're going to delay the strike because we're making progress. Like, everything looks so good.
Yeah. And
104 days ago.
And here we are. And this is something we talked about before, too, about how even if they came to terms with something soon, Hollywood shuts down. These markets shut down. So they really need to get their poop in a group to get things done. Y'all, I hope y'all like that Squid Games reality show.
There's going to be more of them.
I hope you like that. I really hope you love HGTV remake shows. There's going to be so many of those. Watch Loteria. I'm so absolutely baffled that an agreement hasn't been made. Especially because my friends who are on the executive side, we've talked about this too on the show, have said, I'm supposed to be prepping for this show. I am told to act as if the strike is going to end tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
And that was 2 weeks ago. You know, So I think everyone definitely wants to move forward here. It's just both sides keep saying that each offer is untenable. And we need to find something that everyone can be decently happy with the next few years. It's really, it's such a bigger issue than just the actors too. And I honestly, I got a little miffed about seeing some posts the other day because celebrating Disney's 100-year anniversary, right? And some people posting, can you believe that Disney's even actually throwing a party for people today? Can you believe that? Yeah, because it's not just us. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't have anything to do without the writers and the animators and all these other incredible craftspeople. We don't have these jobs without the craft services helping us out. We don't have this without the people who come and work for our safety on sets. It's everybody gets affected by this. In these major markets like we all live in, so we feel it a bit differently than maybe you do in the Midwest or other parts of the country or the other parts of the world. All the businesses around us get affected too. You see restaurants closing down. You see catering companies closing down. You see all these costume
Prop
houses.
masters
Yes.
down,
I mean,
yeah.
Burbank, oh my gosh, it has so much stuff that is just intrinsically tied to this industry. So it is so disheartening that we haven't been able to come to something because it doesn't just affect the actors. Obviously, it affects our bottom line tremendously, but our inability to get back to set right now is making it so many other people don't have jobs. And that's wildly frustrating. Watching my friends who are incredible makeup artists and prop masters and greensmen not have work has been so disheartening to see. Because frankly, as actors, we're pretty used to having waves where we don't work. That's why residuals are so important to us. I'm really hoping that this is something where they stay in the room all day. I want this treated like a Pope being announced. I want smoke to emit from somewhere in Burbank and we go, oh, we're back to work. And it's going to be a huge, crazy hustle for the next 2 weeks to get a bunch of stuff done. I'm hoping against all hope that we figure it out today. I am really,
Because
truly
they are
hoping.
meeting again
They are
today.
meeting
They're
today.
actually sitting down meeting as
we got a
speak.
note last night from SAG saying they were going back to the bargaining table. They took yesterday off to internally work on how they felt about the agreement that was offered to them, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really, really hoping that they stick it out all hours of the day, all hours of the night. I want it to be like when the WGA was there and they were like, we're still staying in the room. We're not leaving till we're done. Gondor calls to aid, light the beacons. I want my friends to go back to work because I got to say too, it hasn't affected me the same way it's affected other actors because I do voiceover so much.
Right.
So this week I was gone so I could work on commercials
you had
and
big
industrials.
commercial stuff that you've been doing the last week or so.
I've gotten to do audio dramas. Animated television is not affected by this at all. So my friends haven't had auditions for 100 days. I've been auditioning for DreamWorks and Disney left and right because it's a different contract. So it feels weird. And I want my TV friends to get back to work. I want to see Aaron Cummings on TV more.
Yeah. Here's the real frustrating thing for me. Like you brought up a really interesting point when you said that, you know, both sides are saying it's untenable right now. You know what? When I look at the proposed, now granted, some of it is positively ridiculous, but
Yes.
when I look at the stuff that the SAG negotiating committee has been proposing, and I look at the stuff that the studios have put out saying that they're proposing, when there are a couple of untenable points in there, but when I look at what they've both been putting forward, I see a deal that can be made.
Yeah.
Like that's the first, like Chris, you and I and Jonathan, and I think most of you guys watching, when you look at this stuff that they're putting out and saying, well, we're offering this and we're offering this, I think all of us with any common sense can look at it and say, there's a deal to be made here, guys.
Yeah.
There's a deal to be made here.
Almost every time we've ended the show, we've talked about, well, couldn't you just do this, this, and this? And I'm sure it's much more complicated
Absolutely,
than that in the
100%.
room.
Yeah.
But I know at least the three of us have had
But even
days
like
of like,
saying-
oh, that's something you could compromise
Even
on.
like coming back 75% or 50%, as opposed to like, we'll never get this done. I'm walking out.
Yeah, that's what I haven't understood.
So I can
I'm
raise
done.
rates at Netflix.
Yeah, and blame it on the actors.
And I hate to
We see you, Ted.
say it like this, but look, when you're talking about big people in big positions in Hollywood, stuff like that, ego becomes a part of it. And how much of this is being affected as a dick swinging contest? Like, and I really do worry about that from people on both sides of the table, that now it's a matter of saving face. Like we said no to this before, so we can't say yes to it now. Yes, you can. We've said we want to maintain like ability to do stuff with AI. Well, suck it. I mean, you're going to have to let it go. Get a deal to, like, it's just going to have to take people on both sides of the table to recognize there's a deal to be made here, but we're going to have to eat this and you're going to have to eat that. All right. Everybody's a little unhappy. perfect. Again, that's my favorite saying my real estate agent taught me was, a good deal is not a sign when both sides are happy. A good deal is when you see both sides are a bit unhappy. There's a bit unhappy deal to be made. Just make the fucking deal and let people get back to work. Anyway, I'm getting very frustrated with both sides on this. So let's go, guys. Come on, let's go. Because wait until 2024.
So many people are going to lose their insurance. So many people are going to lose their livelihood.
Their apartments. People are going to lose projects that are lifelong dream projects that they were going to do. Like, it's just, and forget the studios and forget the actors. As Chris pointed out, there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of sub-industries that rely on production being up and running to make their businesses run, and they're going out of business. And it's just like, and I talked to Ann. I remember I was leaving this morning and I was getting ready to talk to Ann and saying, like, because I read this report and I remember thinking, if they don't even talk to each other in 2024, is it just time for me to shut down? Is it just time for me to shut it down? Because there's not going to be enough for us to talk about if they don't even talk to each other again until January. I mean, so we need to see these guys get their act together. All right, guys, with that down, we're now going to go over and start taking your thoughts, comments, questions, opinions, whatever you guys want to talk about, both from our beloved YouTube channel members, who we put out a community tab post to our channel members earlier, asking them to send in some topics, and from you guys in our live chat, sending in super chats. But before we do, we're going to take another just quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our good friends at Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile, for sponsoring the John Campea YouTube channel. All right, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions you guys have been firing in. Chris, what do we got up first?
So from Shikster, as streamers battle to get third-party content for their libraries, how could this affect creation from traditional cable networks like ABC, CBS, or NBC?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. As things are evolving, things like, ABC, which could get sold, by the way, but right now it's still under Disney. Anything that ABC produces is probably going to end up on Hulu or Disney Plus, things like that. Anything that comes out on NBC is probably going to end up on Peacock, and then you're going to get your freelancers like Sony Studios, which does not have a streaming platform, and they're just selling the content to everybody else and making a fortune while doing it. So this is going to be part of the shaking out process for these early days of the streaming wars. But yeah, like every one of these networks is owned by a bigger company. CBS is under the banner of Paramount. And so everybody's kind of affiliated right now. We'll see how that breaks up though. All right, what's next?
From Seconds from Disaster, there's a clip of John on Movie Talk in July of 2013 saying if they botch Batman versus Superman, the DCEU will be screwed for the next 10 years and will need to reboot. What other predictions have you made that you really wish the studios had just taken your advice on because it ended up being a big bag of booty?
Well,
shout out Ray. It's booty.
Booty. Make no mistake about it. Warner Brothers, DC, Zack Snyder, everybody tried to make the absolute best Batman versus Superman movie they could. And listen, I'll tell you, I don't care who disagrees with me on this. I like Batman versus Superman. I understand it had a lot of people that didn't like it. I just got a very dirty side eye from Chris Carr. But
I'm sorry, I could never be a secret agent.
Yeah, I liked Batman versus Superman. Was it as good as it could have been? No. Did a lot of people dislike it? Yes. I get that. But no, listen, and it was true. They needed to crush with critics, fans, and box office. They needed to crush with Batman versus Superman. And they didn't. And despite the fact that they had the odd flash here and there, not the character flash, the odd flash here and there with the success of the first Wonder Woman, the great success of the first Aquaman, the reality was, I think the fate of DC was pretty much sealed after that. I think it just like they just couldn't recover. Like Batman versus Superman. I've said this before, I will say it again. That is a movie that you should be able to put that title on it and in your sleep make $1 billion. In your sleep, you should be able to make $1 billion, and $2 billion for a movie called Batman versus Superman should be within the realm of possibility. And yeah, I liked it, but I'm not the question.
That's a different DC
A large
character.
majority of the audience, a large segment of the audience, I should say, did not like the movie. A large segment of the critics didn't like the movie. It certainly vastly underperformed at the box office for what it was. And really, everything after that was just a matter of time. Like, it was pretty much screwed after that. So, yeah. I mean, it's not that they didn't take my advice. They tried. They tried their best. Everybody tries their best to make something as good as it can be, because the better something is, the more money you make. But, yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't work out. All right, what's next?
From AL. Hey, Campea. Yes, I'm sticking to that name. Would you still go to Disneyland if they removed the virtual queue system? Right now, Resistance and Spider-Man don't have it. Thanks, and filthy be brought.
For those of you who don't know, I do not go to Disneyland anymore. Fuck Disneyland. Once you screw an Italian out of their money, which is what Disneyland did to me, Italians are very, very slow to forgive. And I won't ever forgive Disneyland for that. I went one time because somebody else was paying for it, but Disneyland will never get another dollar from me. So they can go screw themselves right royally. No, I don't really see anything that's ever going to get me back to Disneyland, to be honest with you. I think, if Ann and I take a trip to Florida, I might be tempted to go and check out Disney World over there because I've never been there. Might check that out. But yeah, it's not just the way they did things. Now, I'm not going to cover the entire 15-minute story about how they screwed me out of my money. But just to say, no, I'm done with Disneyland. I'm never going back to Disneyland. All right, what's next?
Not all Italians on the John Campea show feel this way. Give me tickets.
They never ripped you off.
That's true. They haven't.
If they did, Chrissy Denicio would emerge.
They didn't rip me off, but I was an intern for them, so they broke me.
Okay, well, there you go.
They broke you.
They broke my spirit. Buck's Basement. The subscriber revenue demand by SAG is silly. Half the content on streaming services isn't even affiliated with SAG. Foreign shows, game shows, reality, TV, anime, documentaries, none are SAG.
Look, my opinion on this one isolated, because in the issues of the studio and SAG negotiating, there are dozens of important points, okay? The vast majority of which I happen personally, you don't have to, I personally side with SAG on most of the points. The issue of wanting a cut of subscribers on streaming, I find profoundly ridiculous. And not only do I think it's ridiculous, I think they knew it was ridiculous and they decided to float the idea anyway. It's nonsensical. However, for every one nonsensical point that we can say that I find nonsensical about SAG's position, I could also list off 2 or 3 that are nonsensical on the studio side as well. On this one point, yes, I do not believe under any circumstances that actors should get a cut of streaming. I don't believe set designers should get a cut of streaming. I don't believe anybody should get a cut of streaming. It's unless your organization helps finance those things, I don't think you should get a cut of it. But that's exclusively my opinion and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of anybody else in this room.
Or any other Italians.
Or any other Italians for that matter. All right, what's next?
From King Tannic, 5 Nights at Freddy's Day. I've been waiting 8 years for this.
Woo!
I know the reviews aren't the greatest.
Nope.
But there are a few critics that I line up with who like it. Oh, Israel, I hope that happens for you then. I hope you like it.
Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you what. This is the great thing about my job. There have been many times over the years that I've looked at a movie and I thought, well, this is going to be terrible. And then I go see it and I like it. And it's actually one of the best surprise experiences you can have as a film fan, is watching something that you didn't think you would like and you end up liking. There's almost something even more satisfying about that than going to a movie you thought was going to be really good and it ends up being good. There's something great about that surprise. And I'm still going to watch Five Nights at Freddy's today, and hopefully I'm going to have a good time. And I'll tell you later tonight if I did or not. All right, what's next?
From South Texas Shark, everyone should wear a trench coat to scare Ray.
Yeah, Ray
That'd
does
be
not
good
like
Halloween.
crime. It's like, guys, listen. I'm like, this girl was stunning. Like, this girl's like Instagram, not like an Instagram model. She's an Instagram model. She's stunning and beautiful. But it's just, Ray is such an interesting cat, man. She's wearing a trench coat. That's ridiculous. And then like he wrote her off because she was wearing a trench coat. It's cold. Anyway. All right, what's next?
From Andy, an AI cartoon clock from the end of time travels to 1893 to convince her future creator, who might become a time-traveling interdimensional supervillain, to create a body for her so that she and her creator can smash. This is either the latest episode of Loki or Riverdale is making new episodes. Andy, you're back, buddy. You got this.
I didn't know where you're going with that, but that was good. You know what? I love that storyline with Miss Minutes that they're doing right now. She's lit. Like I'm watching this, and the way she started acting, I remember we were sitting in the room with a few people watching the show. I'm like, no means no, lady. Like she was wanting to smash. She was turning up.
Kudos to Tara Strong. She's so talented.
Oh
She's
my
doing
gosh, she
such a
played
good
that
job
well.
on that voice. But man, I looked at Logan and went, is he gonna fuck a clock?
No, she wanted him to
I
give
know.
her a body.
I know.
She wanted to rub nuggies. Anyway.
Rub
all right.
nuggies. No. My ears,
Did she walk in?
my
She's like, you know what time it
eyes.
is.
No.
You know what time? That's your whole meaning. Do you know what time it is? Ding, ding.
6:30.
Time to rub nuggies. All right.
Those hands went to 6:30.
6:30.
No. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
I'm at your 6:30, baby.
Oh. Time to go 6:30. All right. What's next?
From Damaris Love. Taylor Kitsch's Gambit and Anna Paquin as Rogue. Well, she had 3 movies to get it right.
Oh yeah, she had look. Anna Paquin's an Academy Award winner. If I'm not mistaken. She won. She's like one of the youngest winners of all time.
Yes.
And I loved her in the role. I totally did. But no, not time to bring her back.
No.
All right, what's next?
From Andy. Like Kate and Gen V, Jensen's also my imaginary boyfriend.
Listen, I was initially a little bit disappointed when I found out that it was not actually Soldier Boy, but rather a mental manifestation of Soldier Boy. But he was so funny. Did you see the episode?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God! Knock knock. Who's there? Go fuck your face. I mean, Okay, so
It's a line from the show, or did I just get insulted? What's happening?
I can't even remember the exact the things he said, but basically, they're in this girl's mind. They're going through this girl's mind, and Soldier Boy shows up. He's like, "I'm here because I was her imaginary boyfriend when she was whatever," and then he goes on to describe how she would grind pillows to thoughts of him, and he just went on for like 30 seconds. Describing it. Jensen Ackles playing Soldier Boy is so gold.
I love him.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so funny. Anyway, okay, what's next?
From Shamrock Vibes. Chris, what did you think of the last Doctor Who trailer? I'd love to see Tennant back as the Purple Man. He could play another villain in MCU. He can be scary. Oh, I loved the most recent Doctor Who trailer. I'm very, very excited about it. Donna Noble being back? Come on. But what's going to happen to her brain? It's going to explode with all that time knowledge. I think one of the stupidest things that Jessica Jones did, and I love that show, one of the stupidest things they did was they killed Kilgrave. I thought that was idiotic because he's such a good villain, and I think is one of the top villains that the MCU has put out. I know it's not necessarily canon. Don't come at me. I don't care. I wish that he stayed alive, because then when he showed back up in season 2, it was like, oh yeah, that's what we've been missing. This fucking guy. David Tennant's wonderful as a villain.
Here's why I kind of understand why they killed him off, though.
It's very satisfying.
Well, yes, it's very satisfying. the problem with a character like that is theoretically he's so powerful. Like, if he's not dead, the world is constantly in danger. You know what I mean? Because like just think about that ability that he had, of what he could do. Like, you can literally take over the world in a matter of days. And so it was almost like with a character like that, you almost got, it's the same thing with like Thanos or something like that. You almost got to kill him, or else there's no real other, what do you do with him?
Yeah.
You know, do you wrap him in a black mask, plug his ears, cover his eyes, cover
Rip
his
his
mouth?
tongue out.
What's that?
Rip his tongue out.
Rip his tongue out.
But then because of some Marvel gobbledygook, he can grow it back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or she thinks she kills him, but then he has amnesia, and then he starts learning about his powers. And then, oh my God, is it all from his past trauma? Is why he became such a psychopath? Or is it just because when you have that kind of power, you're going to wield it?
They should have
Kevin
asked
Feige,
you.
let me write for you. Jesus.
probably
They
a
should have
twin.
asked you.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From David Cushmore. Is Patrick Stewart going back as Professor X again? Are they going back to the X-Men movie titles again?
Patrick Stewart himself has teased that he's going to pop up in Deadpool, but I don't think you're going to see, I don't think Patrick Stewart is going to be the Professor X of the MCU. I think there's a lot of things they're going to do in Deadpool. Like I said, my theory of Deadpool is that the Deadpool of the X-Men universe is angry that he never got to go to the MCU, and he's destroying all the X characters and killing and also maybe all the Deadpool variants and all the X-Men characters and all that kind of stuff. And our Deadpool, for lack of a better term, the sacred timeline Deadpool has to go in there and team up with Wolverine to stop that Deadpool variant, who probably won't have a mouth. And that's in that you'll see like the Fox era X-Men, but I don't think we're going to see the Fox era X-Men in the MCU proper. I mean, again, this is all just a guess. All right, what's next?
From Shamrock Vibes. Also, is anyone watching Bodies on Netflix with Stephen Graham? Looks pretty good and spooky. Well, then no.
Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. Is that the crime one? I think that's the crime. Tell me in the live chat if I'm wrong or right about this. I saw a trailer for this for the first time the other day, and I had no idea what it was. Okay, so it's this police detective who finds a body in an alley, right? And it's just this huge mystery. How did this body get here? All this kind of stuff. But then you find out, like 100 years earlier, another police person found that same exact body in the same alley, dead from the same cause. And so I don't know how it pieces all together, but all I know is that the trailer totally fascinated me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I was very, very taken with the
Okay,
trailer.
I'll watch that. Murder, come on.
Oh, that's the guy that played Al Capone in Boardwalk Empire.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was out yet. I just saw the trailer for the first time. I'm very curious to watch this.
I just always think of Stephen Graham with Snatch. Oh, dogs. Yeah, I like dags.
Yeah. By the way, Angel in the live chat said, "Is this based on a true story?" Yes, I'm sure it's based on a true story.
Yep.
Yeah.
That same body showing up.
All right,
It
what's
hasn't
next?
happened yet.
From Joshua McGregor. Hey, John, it has been reported that Major's ex-girlfriend has been arrested for allegedly assaulting him. Interesting turn of events.
Yeah, but as I've tried to point out, one has nothing to do with the other. Because one person acts badly does not mean the other person did not act badly whatsoever. You know, somebody wrote to me, because we talked about the Jonathan Majors story yesterday. And we talked about, the fact that the judge said, no, there is evidence to go to trial and all this kind of stuff. And I inevitably get these people, well, it's pretty disingenuous of you, Campea, to not even talk about the fact that the girl got arrested too. Because I don't know who the fuck the girl is and I don't care. We're talking about what happens in the movie industry. We are talking about a big major A-list movie star and what's going on with them. And the question the court is going to be facing, and the evidence that the court is looking at is, what did Jonathan Majors do? Not what did his ex-girlfriend do. It's completely irrelevant. Unless the evidence shows that it is relevant. But according to the DA and according to the judge, there is evidence there suggesting that Jonathan Majors did the things he's accused of. That just means there's some evidence that suggests he did. Once they go through a trial, they may find him not guilty. which does happen quite often. That's why we still assume innocence other than guilty. But I'm not here on my show to talk about what some random nobody that none of us has ever heard of, who's not in the industry, might have done or not done. We were talking about specifically the situation regarding Jonathan Majors. We did not talk about whether we thought he was innocent or guilty. We simply reported to you guys and talked about the actual facts. His lawyer presented a motion to dismiss. The judge said, no, there is sufficient evidence for this to go to trial. The judge also said that the defense attorneys are asking that evidence be kept from the public. And the judge hasn't ruled on that yet. And that's all we talked about. So I hate it when people with an agenda start coming at me. Why didn't you talk about this girl? And why didn't you talk about the dog who lives on 6th Street that ate a mouse? Because it has nothing to do with this. That's why.
She ate a mouse?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, what's next?
From Zach Stenbeck. What do you think the final season of Stranger Things needs to accomplish to have a great send-off? Kind of like what you did with Loki. And obviously the actor strike needs to be resolved.
Just make a good season. That's it. I mean, look, here's what happens. When a lot of people ask the question, what does such and such property need to do in this next movie? Or what does such and such TV show need to do in its last season? Like, what they're often asking is, what should they do? What's the story going to be? How should it end? Like, and I used to do that, but the last like 5, 6, 7 years, I don't play that game anymore. I want to see what the story is that the storyteller's going to tell. And the answer is, what do they need to do? Make it good. That's it. Does 7 die? Well, as long as you make a good season and you have a good narrative reason why, and you give her a certain send-off and she dies, great. Does 7...
11?
Sorry, thank you. 11.
No problem.
Who's 7? Oh, I'm thinking 7 to 9.
Yeah.
Does 11, do they fast forward 6 years and 11's getting married to Spunky Face, whatever his name is, and David Harbour is walking her down the aisle? Okay, as long as you build a good story and you build up to that and that's your send-off, that can be great. Do all the kids die? Okay. Does the Upside Down win? Okay. Do they destroy the Upside Down? Okay. As long as you make it good, satisfying, compelling story, do good character work, whatever you do with it is fine with me, as long as it's good. All right, what's next?
We got to do David.
Oh, from David Cushmore. Is there going to be an Iron Man 4? Will they do a Deadpool 3? Is John Cena going back to the WWE because of the actor strike?
John Cena already has gone back to the WWE because of the actor strike.
Yep.
Deadpool 3 is already in production. And yeah, I believe someday there's going to be an Iron Man 4 with Robert Downey Jr. May not be this year, may not be next year, may not be 3 years from now, but I do believe it's going to happen. All right, what's next?
From King Daddy Goat. What character are you dressed as today, John?
I'm dressed as a YouTuber today. Like I said, I only have 4 Halloween costumes this year.
You're your logo.
I've already done 3. I did my Jason Kelsey, I did Peacemaker, I did Harry Potter. I've only got 1 left, so I decided to save it until tomorrow. So yeah, today I just slapped on the old black t-shirt and here I am. All right, what's next?
All right, switch over to here. We got to do this. I don't know why that did that, but there you go.
Oh, that's not it.
Somewhere in time, it's here somewhere.
That's also not it. Nope.
Don't want to find it. Oh, I found it. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, from Disgracefulent 9818. I'm 4 years too late, but I barely realized Jessica Jones had a 3rd season. I loved the first 2 seasons, so I binge watched it last night. With Daredevil getting a reboot, what are the chances of seeing
Well.
Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones again?
Wait, was there 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like Jessica Jones. Anyway, I believe that I've already heard it stated. I think she said herself she wasn't returning. So, I mean, I don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but the best of my knowledge, she's not returning. And Daredevil, I think they're about to make it definitive. Daredevil is not the same Daredevil from the Netflix series. It is a very almost exactly alike similar Daredevil, but it's not the exact same one. It's a different thing. So we'll see how that goes. But hey, I wouldn't say it's an impossibility that she could return. Not at all. All right, what's next?
From Jeff Nicholas. Do you think the theaters can weather the fallout of the strikes in 2024?
No. I think just like in the pandemic, where some survived and some, like, who would have ever thought the iconic ArcLight cinemas, whoever would have thought that was possible, that the ArcLight cinemas would close down? They closed down. And I think if there is truly no more negotiations until January, I think that's going to create, remember, most of the Regal has just come out of bankruptcy. AMC, according to their own clown of a CEO, has said they're in a very precarious financial position right now. They suddenly, right now, they're not super feeling it, but the effects of 4 months of actor strike is going to hit. And when it does, it could very well be enough. It will be enough to push some of the theater chains over the brink. Hey, way to go, guys. You're killing the industry. Well done.
I think we'll see a really big surge too in just low budget films, of a lot of horror things coming out that are made on shoestring budgets, probably a return to rom-coms because you can shoot those fast, quick, and dirty.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see movie theaters hopefully do some really innovative things. Hey, want to watch UFC? Come to Regal Cinemas tonight. We're going to show you the UFC. Want to watch some Sunday football? We're going to put Sunday football on the big screen. Come, every concert video you have. Bare Naked Ladies reunion. Yeah, sure. Bare Naked Ladies concert. Here we go. They're going to have to find some ways to, but yes, some more theater chains will have their doors closed. Yeah. Unfortunately. All right. What's next?
From Mr. Black Bono. Game day.
Game day.
Can't wait to watch episode 4 of Loki season 2. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm predicting that season 2 will end up being better than season 1, and it will not drop body slam our hope down to the ground the way She-Hulk and Secret Invasion did in the final episode.
Well, I mean, She-Hulk body slammed it a lot earlier than the last episode. But listen, I'll tell you what. Who knows if it'll finish strong, but for my money, Loki season 2 is a definitive improvement over season 1. I've really been enjoying season 2 so far, and fingers crossed, my friend, that they're able to continue that. And again, and listen, I don't even think Loki is the best thing on Thursdays. Gen V has been outstanding. And the fact that I get to watch Gen V and Loki on Thursday nights right now is making Thursdays is now the day I look forward to every week, just because I know I'm going to be able to watch Loki and Gen V. I'm just loving these shows. All right, what's next?
From Mike Hudspeth. I know this isn't really movie related, but I feel I need some outside advice. I'm 29 and I work a job strictly for the money and benefits, as many of us do. And it leaves me feeling extremely unfulfilled, almost soulless. My dream is to be a writer, storyteller, and to talk about movies. How would you recommend that I push through this job that feels like daily drudgery so that I continue to pay my bills while I pursue my dreams?
Look, my father taught me, and I'm sure he didn't make this up. He got this from others. But it is a philosophy that I am constantly telling my friends. It's a philosophy I live my life by. Do the things you need to do so you can do the things you want to do. Too many people in life don't want to do the things they need to do. They just want to do the things they want to do. And I've talked about the inherent laziness that is a part of us as a human species. We are inherently lazy. We're an inherently lazy species. We have to muster up something to break through that. Listen, I would say, number one, adopt an attitude of gratitude that you have a job that you can pay the bills. There are some people that aren't able to do that. And then you do what I used to do. Look, I started the movie blog never intending to make it a career, okay? Finding the right career is not what's going to give you fulfillment. Just so you know. Finding the right career will not be the thing that gives you fulfillment. When I was doing the movie blog, I was going to school and working a full-time job at the same time. I did the movie blog as my hobby, as something I did for fun because I loved it. And I did the things that I needed to do, continuing to go to school, working a full-time job, pay my bills, all that kind of stuff. And that afforded me the ability to do the things I wanted to do. Not all the things I wanted to do. I never had a lot of money, but I was able to do my hobby with my movie blog. I was able to go to some sporting events with some friends, spend time with family and loved ones. I mean, I liked life, even though, I wasn't working my dream job at the time, but it is what it is. So the first thing I think I would suggest as a complete non-professional in this field is to say, as long as you think that the key to your happiness lies in your ability to become a screenwriter, you're never going to feel fulfilled. the joy in life has to come from other places than what you do as a job. And then beyond that, really keep adapting the attitude that if I do what I need to do so I can do the things that I want to do. And as long as you do that, I think that's where you find a lot of contentment. At least I did for me. That's what worked for me. Anyway, all right, what's next?
From Amin, I haven't watched The Crown, but I like that Netflix is doing the same thing they did with Stranger Things Season 4 for Crown Season 6, splitting the season into 2 parts and releasing them a month apart. I think this is a great release strategy, which worked brilliantly with Stranger Things. Thoughts?
It is but yet the next step to Netflix moving to weekly release schedules. They take baby steps. They already kind of went into these waters with Lucifer, if you remember correctly. They did that with Lucifer. They obviously did it with Stranger Things. They've been playing around that. They're doing that with Squid Game, The Challenge. A little differently, they're releasing it in 3 different parts. They did that with Arcane. They're doing it more and more and more. And because they're realizing if you spread things out, you increase their potential for success. Rather than just dropping everything at once, the people who watch it, and then nobody talks about it again a week and a half later, right? So they're learning that starting to spread things out, and they're starting to spread things out slowly, 2 parts, 3 parts. In the next year, 2 years, 3 years, it'll be 3 parts, 4 parts, 5 parts. So they're heading in that direction, and it's the right direction for them to go in. All right, what's next?
From Jay Superboy, hey John, do you think will WB ever do a New Gods movie or TV show? Me personally, I think Orion is missing opportunity. Could be DC version of Thor, especially with the family dynamics. Keep it filthy.
Will they ever do it? Sure. I mean, they're always going to be looking for new IP once they exhaust certain things. That's the thing they can bring in. The problem with the New Gods is I don't know how well characters like the New Gods will resonate with average moviegoers. I'm just not sure how they will. It's not a matter of them being known or unknown, right? Like, even though a lot of us went, they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but these are characters that I think most people knew could resonate well with average film fans. I'm not so sure that's true with the New Gods. I don't know what you think about that, Chris, but I think about my mom. My mom is the one I always kind of go to because my mom likes comic book movies and stuff like that. And I always think about she's kind of the representation to me of what an average film goer is.
Yeah.
And I could see her. I mean, there's several comic book characters that a lot of people maybe never heard of that I think my mom could resonate with or be attracted to, whatever. I just don't know that New Gods are a collection of those that would resonate with average moviegoer because it's way out there. Like, doing New Gods stuff is way out there. I don't know. What do you think?
It is pretty out there. But I don't know. I mean, in a post-Thor world, I think you can get away with a lot of things too. I mean, I know my Catholic mom would be like, New Gods. But other than that, I think she could get on board because she watches enough sci-fi and anything. It just really comes down to, do they execute explaining the characters well, describing their world and making us feel like, oh, this is plausible in this reality.
Yeah. I mean, look at Eternals for a second, right? So Eternals, now they did a lot of legwork on Eternals to try to make it as relatable and grand as possible. It all took place on Earth with them living amongst human beings, living as human beings. They tried as much as they could. But even then, that is one of the lowest grossing box office MCU films ever made.
Yeah.
Right? Even though I think the movie's great, but it was one of the lowest things. It didn't connect with average moviegoers. And I worry that New Gods would be the same. Mm-hmm. But who knows? All right, good question though. All right, what's next?
From Alan, hey Campea crew, I saw the news that Meg Ryan is returning to acting. If you had to choose one movie to watch, which would you choose? When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, or You've Got Mail? Thanks.
Easy. You Got Mail.
Really?
Sleepless in Seattle is classic, all that kind of stuff. I think You Got Mail is one of the most delightful ones. There's also like a lot of deep cut movie quotes that they use in the movie. It's charming. I mean, it's everything that a Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movie should be. And yeah, well, look, she had a movie that was supposed to come out over the same weekend as the Eras Tour, the Taylor Swift Eras Tour that she does with David. I think it's David Duchovny, right? Where they're stranded in the airport terminal overnight. That she actually directed as well. I think that was supposed to come out the same weekend.
Oh, that's fun.
It's like they were ex-boyfriend, girlfriend when they were much younger, and they rerun into each other at this airport. And then the airport gets shut down because of weather, and the two of them are the only ones stuck in the airport overnight. And the whole movie takes place in one night of them kind of reconnecting. Mm-hmm. It looks delightful. But yeah, out of all those,
it looks charming as hell.
You Got Mail, I think, is Meg Ryan at her peak of of quirky charm. And again, Dabney Coleman is in the movie. He's absolutely fabulous in it. I would take You Got Mail. What would you take out of those three?
I just made Logan watch You've Got Mail for the first time. Because he is not a Meg Ryan fan. He only likes her in Inner Space.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, you have to see all these other movies. Man, Sleepless in Seattle is great because of all of the references to An Affair to Remember and all the Cary Grant mocking. But When Harry Met Sally is so quotable and so good.
I mean, it's a classic.
Yeah, absolutely is.
So good.
All right, time for two more. What's next?
From Chris Davis, it is amazing how Gen V can be so gratuitously violent and touching at the same time.
Ann and I had dinner with a couple of friends of mine last night who haven't seen Gen V, and I was trying to describe it, and that's really a good way of putting it. The boys and Gen V, their ability to have this exterior candy shell of raunchy, gross, filthiness, extreme, but this chewy Shakespearean drama center to it with real human story and real depth of character is just a magnificent combination, which is why I think the boys universe, being the boys in Gen V, is the best comic book television out there. It's not Marvel, it's not DC, it's this universe of the boys. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
From Jesse Has a Turtle. I finally watched Behind the Mask like you recommended, and it was so good.
So good.
I don't understand why this doesn't get talked about at all.
Well, it doesn't get talked about because nobody's seen it. Again, let me recommend this again. I love recommending this movie. So few people have ever seen it. I don't think it got a wide theatrical release, but it's called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. See if you can find an image of this, Jonathan, if you can. But some of you have heard me describe it before. Let me describe it again. It is like The Office fake documentary about this college documentary crew who, in a world where Freddy, Jason, and Michael are real, like in this world, it takes place in a world where Freddy, Jason, and Michael are real, this college film students do this documentary. There it is. Do this documentary about this new up-and-coming supernatural serial killer named Leslie Vernon. And he's in training, getting ready to become the next supernatural serial killer, right? And the first 2 acts of the movie is done in fake documentary style, and it's really a deconstruction of the entire horror genre, about the deeper meaning of the survivor girl, about why we're attracted to horror. Like all this guys, this big deconstruction while being ridiculously funny. It's incredibly hilarious. But then, as you get into the second half of Act 3, the movie changes gears. No longer is it a fake documentary. It's no longer being done from the perspective of the documentary camera. It smash cuts to being an 80s style slasher movie as Leslie Vernon manifests and becomes what he was there to become. And so the last part of the third act is basically an 80s, 90s style slasher movie horror with now in a traditional movie format rather than the fake documentary one. And it's really good. So it's both hilarious, it's insightful about the genre, but also our attraction to horror. And then it just turns into this little horror, a 15, 20-minute horror film at the end that it pays off so much from the early thing. Guys, it's a brilliant, wonderful movie. By the way, Robert Englund is in it. The short, creepy lady from Poltergeist. Yes, there's a child in this house. She's in it. It's like some horror icons make appearances in it. It's wonderful. There she is. Yes. So Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Find it somewhere on streaming if you can. Get some friends together and watch it. It's wonderful. It was made for like $500,000. It was made super dirt low budget. So yeah, check it out. And that's a great thing note to end on here today, guys. So that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making the show part of your day. Guys, don't forget, go and subscribe to our podcast to make sure the next time you're commuting or at work or whatever, you need an audio-only version of the show. It'll be there when you need it. Look at all those 5-star ratings. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to that as well. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in questions, both our beloved YouTube channel members and, of course, those of you guys who used the super chat feature to send it in. Number one, because you gave us great things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel while we did it. I want to thank the people in the room with me. Of course, Jonathan Voico. Jonathan.
See you later.
I want to thank Chris Carr.
Bye, guys.
And my name's John Campea. So until next time, my friends, bye-bye.